Starlight Lounge presents An Evening with the Progressive Box.
Old moon, yeah. That's Hugo, tickling the ivories. He just saved by bundling home and auto with Progressive. Gonna finally buy a ring for that gal of yours, Hugo? Send her my condolences. Hi-oh! This next one's for you two. There's a burglar in my heart. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Geico presents yet another voicemail from your roommate.
Hi. So, about the kitchen. Turns out when there's a grease fire, you're not supposed to throw water on it. Who would have known, right? Anyways, the fire department is here and it's totally cool. Give me a call back when you get a chance.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if danger is your roommate's middle name. Visit geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.
Did you grow up with the NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV. They're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Comics, games, movies, music, and TV. They're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
And now it's time for another special feature.
Well, now, E3 got off to its main start today, but yesterday we had the E3, I guess almost like an early kickoff show from Electronic Arts. Now, they streamed for about 3 hours in the afternoon. I ended up watching most of it, but only really live tweeted the initial half hour or so, which was on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is looking pretty fantastic. The rest of the other stuff that they have that they announced it was all like stuff that's already out, like Apex Legends, which some people like Birdman are pretty interested in, but for my money, I'm not interested in seeing E3 for what's coming to existing software or Madden franchises or FIFA. I'm looking at what is coming that's new or innovative or different or something that exclusive that we haven't seen before. And the gameplay footage they showed off of the Star Wars game was pretty promising. I did think that the graphics were a little last-gen PS3-ish, especially like the Wookiee looks terrible. So, I mean, this is alpha footage. They're going to obviously do some stuff to tweak it, but it looked subpar until you see the action. The way you flow in this game, you can run off walls, parkourish. You can do a lot of crazy force moves and combos, and that looks to be super duper fun. It looks like a mixture of the old KOTOR mechanics as well as like has a very BioWare feel to it. So like a little Mass Effect, but then a little bit of Force Unleashed involved. And I think the best part of it is that you get a little droid that is basically like a little cat that sits on your shoulder and then goes and does things for you. So that's going to be pretty cool. They did mention that it's not going to be something that you can play as like a dark side or light side. It is a light side story. It's basically a canon story that bridges the gap between the films. So that's going to be really cool. Other than that, there wasn't really anything that piqued my interest there. So that's why I didn't do a full recording yesterday on it right after the show. So I figured I would sandwich it in here with the coverage of Xbox's one. And hoo boy, they did pretty good with Xbox. They went out with it was 60 games, many of which 14 of them were like first-party titles that were exclusive. And the vast majority of them, I think it was 34 or 35, something like that, I scrolled by the screen, are going to be Xbox Live Game Pass enabled, like from day one, where you get to, if you're a subscriber, you get to play them for free. Now, I talked a bit with Birdman, and he was a little underwhelmed with the show, and I realized what it was. The show itself was good, but a lot of it was third-party stuff, or stuff that's coming to multiple platforms. The big key selling feature of this entire conference for them is the Xbox Live Game Pass Ultimate, which in Canadian money it's $16.99, and what that gets you is it supersedes your Xbox Live Gold. And I had just purchased a 3-month pass, and I forgot about it actually a couple days ago, and they refunded my money because I paid $1 to upgrade and try the 1 month of the Xbox Live, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now, what the Game Pass Ultimate is it includes the Game Pass that's been available now for quite some time on the Xbox. It also includes a gold subscription for the month, and includes Game Pass for PC. So if you were to buy them separately, you'd be looking at about $30 some odd per month. The fact that it's like $11.99 per month for Xbox Live Gold right now in Canada, if you're paying month to month, you may as well just pay the extra $6 or so and get the Game Pass Ultimate. And if you have Ultimate specifically, a lot of games that aren't necessarily going to be played first on Game Pass, you get them first. So you'll get games that might not be normally free to you, as well as some Ultimate editions. So I'll get into that in a little bit here, but suffice to say, they're trying to push you towards a subscription model, and I don't mind it at this point for that price point, because between that and PlayStation, you pay about $50 to $70 a year. I don't mind if between my multiple platforms I'm paying about $120 a year for a lot of free games and online content, so I'm okay with that. Anyway, sorry, I'm losing my voice here. They ended up premiering a bunch of titles. I'm going to go through my notes here because there was a fair bit that just sort of zoomed by most of the time. And they premiered the new Battletoads game that they teased last year, but it's a very cartoony and almost hand-drawn style, which looks pretty neat. They also premiered an RPG called RPG Time: The Legend of Wright, which is like, what if Yoshi's Paper or Yoshi's Crafted World was a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons campaign with tons of hand-drawn stuff, and it just looks like you're sitting there playing somebody's homemade props, which looks really, really cool. It's one to keep an eye out for. They did also announce that there's going to be a new flight simulator, which I think it's been at least 10 years since Flight Simulator X or whatever it was, the Century of Flight came out, and they closed the studio. And it's going to be using the brand new Azure AI, which is their artificial intelligence, like their learning-based system, where it's going to build the world and everything below you in real time and play it over the cloud, which is something that flight simulators can really take advantage of. Because I remember working at game stores back like 9, 10, 11, 12 years ago or so. People would come in, and it was one of the only PC games they would buy would be the new Flight Sim and Flight Sim packs, because they would build like a $5,000 computer just to play Flight Sim. Those people are ludicrously, insanely dedicated to it, and they're probably just kicking themselves that they've not been able to play anything for quite some time. So this is going to bring back a whole market for them, and it's also going to be used probably to do like actual flight training. It's sort of like a thing to show off how the system, like their cloud-based gaming, can actually work. So I think it's going to be really neat. The other games that were announced is that they are going to be putting out a game called Crossfire. It looks like it's multi-platform. They didn't have much on it. It looks like really high quality, almost like Square Enix looking title, like when Square Enix does Western looking characters. And it's going to be a shooter, but might be something else. They haven't really explained much. I think it might be a PvP game. The Tales of Arise, which was already leaked, as well as the other two Namco Bandai games that were leaked a couple days ago that we talked about, were shown, and they look pretty cool. And finally, there's a new Tales game that looks like it's from a new engine.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. You'll proudly mow the lawn. Ask if anybody noticed you mowed the lawn. Tell people to stay off the lawn. Compare it to your neighbor's lawn. And complain about having to mow the lawn again. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance, which, of course, will go right into the lawn. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
And now, a thought from Geico Motorcycle. It took 15 minutes to take a spirit animal quiz online.
Please be the cheetah. Please be the cheetah.
And learn your animal isn't the cheetah, but the far less appealing blobfish.
Oh, come on.
To add insult to injury, you could have used those 15 Blobfish minutes to switch your motorcycle insurance to Geico.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on motorcycle insurance.
Sweet. There is Phantasy Star Online 2 is coming out. Now, Phantasy Star Online 2 is, I guess, the first official, like I'm saying in quotes because there's been other spin-offs, but the first official sequel to the old Dreamcast title. And interestingly enough, after doing some digging, it's going to be Xbox One exclusive, as far as I can tell. And it's also going to be free to play here. Whereas in Japan, other parts of the world, you've got to pay, a monthly fee because it is a paid MMO. Well, it's going to be free, and as long as you're an Xbox Live Gold member, which is wicked. You don't even have to be a Game Pass member, but that's kind of sweet. They showed off a new Elite controller, which is a revision of the original, because the original is based on the first Elite controller, the first system controller. This one's based on the redesign that came out when the Slim came out, so it has the headphone jack, it has Bluetooth connectivity. They've done some tweaking to the controls to make it sound a little more appealing to the newer gamers that maybe think it's a little antiquated at about 4 or 5 years old since the last one came out. So that's kind of neat. It's probably going to be priced at the exact same price as the previous controller was. They did show off that they purchased Double Fine Productions, which is interesting because they've been pretty much fiercely independent, but the fact that they were purchased shows that they're really dedicating themselves to like all levels of indie and higher end content. There's also a new Age of Empires 2 remastered, like a final edition coming out, which has some extra new content, which will be pretty appealing to anybody like myself that in middle school or high school were really big into the RTS franchises. There's a Lego expansion for Forza Horizon 4, which just like the Hot Wheels expansion that came out for 3, it basically builds a Lego world, and they brought out like a McLaren 50 or 500,000 piece Lego made car, which is kind of neat to show off. So there's those. I'm trying to think any other highlights from it before I get into the nitty gritty. They also revealed a little more details on the new system, the new Xbox. They didn't say the name, but it's Project Scarlet with 2 T's. I'm assuming it's like Xbox 2 or some weird name, whatever they're going to do. Now, interestingly enough, they didn't show any, like they showed some of the physical chips, but they didn't show what the concept art or design is. They did show that that it's going to have what sounds to be the exact same hardware or very similar. Same with this, how they did with this generation, to what the PlayStation announced a few months ago for theirs. I'm not sure whose is going to be more powerful or not. They were talking about new SSD technology being so much faster. It's probably very similar to what they're doing with Sony. Same with the Navi chipset and everything that they're doing for the Ryzen 3 chipsets for the PlayStation. Interestingly, they're using GDDR5 or 6, and they're doing some RAM drive sort of stuff. I want to see what Sony does. I'm still surprised that Sony hasn't announced a state of play or anything for the show. You'd think they'd want to have some news out, but they might be waiting to see what Microsoft does before they drop a bomb, like showing off maybe what their system is or what it does. Now, they are launching in winter, like Christmas of 2020, so we're looking at a year and a half away for the Xbox. I'm wondering if Sony is going to try to launch earlier. It won't be this year, they've already said that, but I'm wondering if they're going to try to launch in like a March of next year and get like 6 months ahead of Xbox. Like, who knows how far into their development cycle they are on that, which will be pretty cool. They also showed off a bunch of indie titles that look interesting. There is a new Ori game. It looks super bright, colorful, with crazy backgrounds and just very immersive, almost neon-looking colors. They showed off more of Obsidian's game, was it Outer Worlds, I believe. And there's a melee combat game, which escapes me because it went so fast across the screen, from Ninja Theory. And that looks to be like, what if Sunset Overdrive merged with a Ninja Combat melee game that merged with, I guess, an Overwatch sort of thing, which looks pretty cool. And there's also, there was some other stuff they showed off, like, I guess some titles that were already released, I'm not going to mention, that have been out for a while, or that are just finally coming to their system, that were on the Switch already, or were on the PC and they're moving over, and they're all going to be games that are on the the Xbox Game Pass, so you can play them for free. So the last couple big things that were shown off is they showed off Gears 5 with the slogan, I guess it's a subtitle, Bound by Blood. And they showed off some facial animations of what they can do with the characters. They showed off a little bit of gameplay. They had this really amazing set that opened up, and we went underneath the set to watch another set, which kind of neat. Something that they can only do at their own theater since they own it there, which is kind of neat. That game is coming out in September 10th, and also there's going to be a Terminator download pack for it. Interestingly, if you're an Xbox Live and Game Pass Ultimate member, you'll get the game for free day one with the DLC. It'll include the Ultimate Edition, so you'll have like the $150 or $120 edition included day one. So they're really pushing that, which is going to be cool. It means I have to go back and finally play all the other games that I own in this, because they came with my system when I bought my Boxing Day system last year. So you've got those, Battletoads, everything there with Gears. They showed off Halo finally, and they said something. It's not going to be a multi-generational system. It's not coming to Xbox One. It's going to launch the day that they launch the new Xbox. So it's going to be not a pack-in title, but a day one edition. So they're basically guaranteeing multiple millions of sales on it. And after showing the trailer for it, I can see why. It's an in-game trailer that they're showing off working on the hardware, and it's beyond anything that you could do normally on current hardware. It would be something that you would normally say, oh, they're doing some E3 trailer trickery. It's not, based on the kind of specs they're running with, and if it's using cloud gaming to do some of the rendering in the background. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's probably going to be a day one purchase for me. I'll probably upgrade my Xbox One X towards getting whatever the new Xbox is. They did slip a couple hints when they were showing off the system. They mentioned stuff about it being 4 system generation compatible, meaning they're going to keep the backwards compatibility. It might even go up, because I am assuming that it will no longer be for backwards compatible games that you download them to your hard drive. I think those are all going to be played from the cloud. That's my speculation. But it's a lot easier to emulate something at full resolution, like full 4K upscaling, when it's all being done through the cloud, and they're smaller games anyway. So you might be able to download them locally or play them online, ones that maybe were previously unavailable to do so. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. They mentioned that they dropped little hints here and there of other games that might be coming, but they didn't want to show off too much. The big thing was, and the big reveal, even though it wasn't officially for them, was CD Projekt Red showed off a brand new cinematic trailer for, and it was all in-game engine, you could tell, for Cyberpunk that's coming out, and they finally have a date for it. It's coming out in April. I think it's April 16th of next year, so like an Easter time thing, which means it's going to be on probably new platforms. It might be on the new PlayStation if that comes out earlier around that time, but it'll definitely be something that I'll probably play on Stadia, to be honest, if they work out a deal where I can play it, through the cloud gaming, because I want to play that in maximum quality, and I don't want to break the bank having to upgrade my computer. So they showed that off, and at the very end, they showed your in-game companion character that's sort of there, like a holographic character to help you out in the game, and it's Keanu Reeves, and it blew everybody's mind. I was watching here with my roommate, and we just went, holy shit, we couldn't believe it. And then he shows up on the stage to talk about it, and he's known about this for years, and they kept this under wrap for so long that it's kind of surprising. Like, you've got games like Kojima has Mads Mikkelsen, and he has the dude from The Walking Dead, but they don't have fucking John Wick. So John Wick is going to be in that game. To what extent, I don't know. I think he's a fairly main character. So that got me super crazy hyped. But again, as Dodd pointed out to me, all these cool announcements, other than the Game Pass thing and a little bit of stuff on the hardware, there wasn't really a lot of brand new, truly exclusive titles that, were crazy enough for everybody. I like a lot of the RPG elements of it, but if you're not a huge RPG fan, there wasn't as much for you in this conference that wasn't multi-console or not just Game Pass related. So that's pretty cool. It's something we'll have to talk about later on when we get together to do a roundtable, like how did E3 go this year. But that's going to do it for pretty much everything here as far as what happened at EA's E3 coverage and the Xbox One. I'm going to have to, get this out here, edit it, and we're going to put it up right now so that I can be ready for the 8:30 show from Bethesda, which I'm fully hoping will be disastrous or amazing. I want it to be either terrible or amazing. And then I believe later on, I think at like 10 or 11, there's going to be the show for, I guess that's, what is it, Devolver Digital is doing theirs. So I'll probably combine those two shows together and do another episode on that, and we'll have that out either late tonight or early tomorrow. One thing I noticed was, instead of streaming like with EA like I did on YouTube, I went to Mixer because they were advertising it a lot with the Xbox show, and I have an Xbox One X with a 4K TV, and when I connected it said, you have an Xbox One X, would you like to connect to the 4K stream? And I went, yeah, sure, why not? I have a gigabit connection. So I clicked to connected in, and it was almost like watching a Blu-ray. Like the data rate that it was using, I checked, it was spiking to about 150 megabit per second on my network. So if you don't have 150 megabit or higher, which, you know, I've almost 10 times that speed, it's fine. But like, it was using probably 3 times the data rate that I'm used to seeing from a 4K stream. So it looked like it was being broadcast via satellite to me. So it was pretty amazing. They even had like a 4K HDR mode if you had HDR to watch. So yeah, that's probably how I'm going to try to stream all of these conferences. I know Bethesda is going to be live on Mixer as well, so I'll watch on there and still live tweet. And I know Devolver isn't. It's on Twitch, so I'll just watch on Twitch. And then tomorrow there's more coverage, and then Tuesday there's more coverage, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, that something happens with Sony. So I'm going to get this out here and send it up to everybody because I am super hyped for whatever comes next.
Okay, son, now you're starting to scare the viewers.
Just act normal.
I'd ask you to do the same, but I'm afraid that ship has sailed.
Why are there so many ostriches? But you have a game that is dipped in a
ropey, thick window cocking.
So guys, we'll be right back right here on This Week in Geek, only on thisweekingeek.net and many other sites where I syndicate this crap because I'm a media slut.
I like turtles.
Loose like your mom.
That's right.
No fisting, you say. Anything else you object to?
Me likey tater tots.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek. Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net for more geek content and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head to this episode post on thisweekingeek.net and comment through Facebook Connect. Or you can call our voicemail line at 817-717-7202. Follow and message us on Twitter at thisweekingeek. And check out our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. And if you're the good old-fashioned email type, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. We'll see you next time. And remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
Genji 2 is an action game which is based on Japanese history. The stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
Octodad Dadliest Catch will stagger awkwardly onto PlayStation 4. Now, although historically accurate, this game does not contain giant enemy crabs.
I can't believe it.
That Gerald is presenting the quarterly budget report with finger puppets?
Look, here comes a 1.7% decrease in fixed overhead. Hello, everybody.
No, I can't believe how easy it was to save hundreds of dollars on my car insurance with Geico.
Who are you? The projected increase in organic Q3 revenue. Hooray!
Believe it, Geico could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Geico presents yet another voicemail from your roommate.
Hi! So, about the kitchen. Turns out when there's a grease fire, you're not supposed to throw water on it. Who would have known, right? Anyways, the fire department is here and it's totally cool. Give me a call back when you get a chance.
The Geico Insurance Agency could help keep your personal property protected, like if danger is your roommate's middle name. Visit geico.com to see how easy it is to switch and save on renter's insurance.